Hey, 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 Fit Mama. Jen Oliver here, your host of the Fit Mama podcast. This is the work in to your workout. Hey, Fit Mama. I am here today with someone I have been wanting to introduce you to for years. This woman was first introduced to me online many, many moons ago by one of my favorite trainers in Toronto, Canada, Sam. And Sam introduced me to Chana, who is a pelvic floor physiotherapist, pelvic health physical therapist, however you want to say it. She is one of the best that I have ever known, and I have learned so much from her. She inspires me and so many every single day in her clinic. Chana is a passionate women's health advocate. She is the director of her clinic and the pelvic health physiotherapist among many other pelvic health physiotherapists they have at her place, Vital Physiotherapy and Wellness. It is a women's health and pelvic health physiotherapy clinic in Midtown Toronto. Her interest in women's health developed during her pregnancies. She has 4 beautiful children, Rebecca, 11, Maya, who's 9, Isaac, who's 6, and she has a 1-year-old daughter, Molly. Chana provides prenatal and postpartum physiotherapy, as well as rehabilitation of all forms of pelvic pain, for all forms of pelvic pain and dysfunction. She is a sought-after educator and teacher, and she regularly speaks of pelvic health, prenatal separation, and loves to empower clients to take the lead in their health and lifestyle, which is what I love about her. She has a real loving style. She is someone who you want to know. And if you have a pelvic floor physio, you want her to be yours because she is seriously such a sweetheart. Along with her team of highly skilled physiotherapists and allied health practitioners, Chana loves assisting her clients of all ages and stages with pelvic health issues such as Diastasis Recti, which we talk about a lot, and Chana and I go into. This is also known sometimes as mummy tummy, or it feels like there's like a pouch or something's not kind of together in your abs and you're just not sure what's going on there. She helps people with pelvic pain, men and women, but specifically, I know she works with postpartum and pregnancy pelvic pain, which there is no shortness of that going on in those stages of our lives. Incontinence, another thing that is yet one of those things we think is everyone has it, so this just must be our thing as moms, and it's not. She will help you with that. She helps with pelvic organ prolapse, which at many stages in our lives we are very susceptible to. There are just so many things that she helps with: pregnancy preparation, pre and postnatal conditions, oncology rehabilitation, which is a huge one, as well as labor and delivery support. Chana is a wealth of information. We're barely going to scratch the surface, but we are going to try. I don't know who talks faster. I don't know who's more excited about pelvic health and all the things than her or I, because we just get to it. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You're going to want to know about this if you have a vagina and if you have had a pregnancy, want to have a pregnancy, or even if you don't have a vagina, you're going to want to know about this. That's for sure. So tune in, enjoy our interview. I can't wait to have you learn from Chana. She's just such a sweetheart. I'm going to have all her info linked up in the show notes for you. So you'll be able to click all that and find her and get in to see her or talk to her on the phone because she is pretty rad. Have a good one. Enjoy. Hey, Fit Mama. I am excited to have Chana Ross here with us. She is a pelvic health physiotherapist, owner of Vital Physiotherapy. All the deets I already shared with you. Without further ado, welcome, Chana.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so grateful to have you. I've been an admirer of you for, it's got to be in the years now, I'm telling you. I've seen you online for so long. And what you do for women, thank you. What you do for women is so inspiring. You do one of the elusive things. It's like one of these, oh, wow, what is this wild unicorn that does this? What I tell people about pelvic health physio. So let's jump right in. What is it that you do for women?
So I call ourselves the gynecologist physiotherapist. So
I like that.
we are regular orthopedic physiotherapists with specialized training to treat the pelvic floor. So we have a special designation to be able to perform internal techniques. So that's vaginal and rectal techniques. And we really focus in our clinic on women's health and pelvic health. So women who are prenatal, postpartum, in and around menopause, women who have gone through cancer treatment and are experiencing pelvic health issues. We help them rehabilitate if they're experiencing incontinence, leaking, low back pain, if they have heaviness or prolapse postpartum. We help them, teach them to learn how to push babies out, prepare them for labor and delivery. We just do a whole host of things that really our goal is to empower our clients and help them have faith in their bodies again.
Oh, wow. What a breath of fresh air. I know for probably every single woman who has seen you and coming through your doors has been like, where has this been all my life? Why did my doctor not tell me this, X number of months or years sooner? Because the women I work with from the more of a fitness and sort of, I'll say superficial end, for lack of a better term, you get really deep in what's actually going on for people. And have you found that you're sort of a last resort? Like people have gone to the doctor and gone to people and they're not sure what to do anymore? Or how are people finding out about you? Because I still feel like pelvic health physio is like not known.
So it's so interesting because the answer is sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Okay.
So the first friend who comes to see us, we're usually the last resort. They're desperate. They're like, okay, you could just, whatever it is you have to do, whatever you have to do, do it. If it's going to get me better, right? And they're really picturing like their trips to the gynecologist and using a speculum and these really uncomfortable, icky experiences. And they're like, they're thinking that that's what physio is going to be like, but they're willing to go through it, so to speak, in order to stop experiencing their pain or their discomfort or the shame and the embarrassment that they're going through.
Right.
But having said that, once they've been through it, because it's not like that at all. It is our goal from the second somebody walks through our front doors, it's our goal to just make them feel safe and cared for. The entire experience, they should be completely empowering. They should walk out feeling absolutely better than when they walked in. And when they tell their friends come in, they're like, so Jane told me that you're going to change my life. And I'm like, I will change your life. And they're like, great, let's do this. And so it is a different experience that, and many physiotherapy clinics out there, many, especially in the States, but also in Canada, they rely on a doctor's referral.
Right.
Not because it's necessary, but because the doctor knows best, and they and whenever something's wrong with their body, they'll go into a doctor's office.
Right.
I find that the people who are finding us are finding us because they're friends, they're family, they're trusted. The people who they trust in their life are saying, listen to us. Go to Vital, they will take care of you.
Awesome.
And so when we get referrals who are from doctors, and the clients come in, it's often somebody who it is a last resort, right? They've seen 15, other practitioners who have told them there's nothing wrong. We don't know what's wrong. I don't know why you're complaining about, this long term pain or this discomfort with intercourse, or, you're saying your belly is bulging. Like, I don't know, like, it doesn't seem like anything's wrong with you. And these women are walking around like saying like, I know something feels wrong, but nobody knows what's wrong with me. There must be something terrible, or it must be all in my head. Oh,
what a frustrating predicament to be in. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so for those clients, definitely we're like we're last resort.
Yeah.
But then for their friends, we're not.
Yeah, that, you know what, that's such a good point, and it makes total sense. And I love how people are sharing more vulnerability. You know, people, how many years ago, not even that long ago, or never would talk about painful sex, or never would talk about these things, even with their close friends or, you know, family members. So I love that it's more, you know, quote unquote, normalized now. But I think one of the really big things is that still, it's scary to talk about things or really, you know, have any idea if something is wrong, because you're kind of like, is that normal? Is everybody else feeling it? We're not really talking about it. Is, you know, no one ever told me this. My midwife or doctor didn't ask or check. So tell us, what are some of those things that people come to see you with? What are the symptoms? What are the things that you see most, or you really stand out and help fit mamas with?
Yeah, that's a really good point, that people don't know what's actually wrong versus what's normal. I think that there's a big misconception, especially postpartum and with moms of all ages. There's a big misconception that things with our body are supposed to be wrong after we have babies.
Yes.
So,
and I do not like to subscribe to those stereotypes. I am like, no, you do not just have to pee your pants and laugh about it. No.
Exactly. And there is this big, there's a common phrase that we use, which I don't love anymore, which is that it's common but not normal. So, you know, we say, like, you know, leaking urine, even if you're jumping on a trampoline with a full bladder and you cough at the same time and your 3-year-old pushes you from behind. If you leak, that's still not, you know, it's common, but it's not normal.
Right.
What that insinuates, though, is that there is a normal. And I don't really think that there is a normal, but I think that there is healthy and unhealthy.
Okay. Good. Great.
So, you know, what do we see? We have clients who come in who they're scared to have sex with their partner. It hurts. They'll close their eyes and bear it, but they just, you know, they're not really willing to do that very often because it's uncomfortable, which it shouldn't be and doesn't have to be. It's totally treatable. Okay. They are leaking urine when they're coughing, sneezing. They're not making it to the bathroom in time. You know, they'll make it to the bathroom and they'll start to trickle a little bit. They suddenly feel like they don't have to go to the bathroom, and then they gotta go now, either like bowel movements or to pee, quite frankly. Like they have this sudden urgency. That's, again, it's really common postpartum because your bladder gets kind of compressed during pregnancy. And so this signals like you're not quite sure what is a normal sensation, quote unquote, and what is not a normal bladder filling sensation, right? Yeah. We see clients who need to rehab their abs postpartum. There's, you know, this is a fine line as well. I'm sure you see with fitness, right? Where our bodies are different postpartum, and there's a different, doesn't have to mean worse though.
Yes.
Right?
And I always like to highlight that because you know, our ego can be tied to the, again, superficiality of way things were, but things can be better. I mean, I've seen every ailment under the sun clear up when people are pregnant, and their bodies and their everything is thriving, right? Yes. And even in postpartum, I mean, if we can step aside and not try and be all the things, you know, we can really thrive in that postpartum period. Do you see that as well?
I feel like everybody is in a really big hurry to get back to being the poster child for motherhood and strength and balance and all the things. And I think that one of the biggest pieces that is missing from what we talk about postpartum is how slow it is and how slow it should be, and that slow is actually the fastest way to recover, and that we shouldn't be doing all the things postpartum, that we should actually be doing just the necessary things and let the rest of it get taken care of, either by other people who are supportive of us or just being okay with not having them get done.
So true. And how did you find, Hannah, I mean, as you're a mother of 4, which, I mean, that's amazing. And I had a mother, I mean, obviously I had a mother, but my mother was a mother of 4. I was one of 4. And, you know, I'm very always just, of course, enamored and impressed by mothers of 4 because that's just so impressive. But you, I mean, you have been in this field for quite some time. You've gone through all this, you know, you have 4 kids of 4 different ages. You know, how did you you find then versus now? Give us a little bit about your personal, if you will.
Okay, so it's funny because my mom and I actually laugh about this because my eldest daughter is 11, and I say a lot. I'm also I come from a family of 4 children, and I'm the oldest. I'm the most mature, obviously.
Of course.
But when I had my eldest 11 years ago, I wasn't looking to Facebook and Instagram, and when I had questions about raising my daughter, I would ask my mother or ask other moms around what they were doing, and there was a lot less pressure to do all the things then. Now I was a physiotherapist then, so I was looking into like ab rehab postpartum and things like that. I've always exercised, and way we rehabbed postpartum even 11 years ago has evolved significantly. When we were talking about diastasis back then, or ab recovery, we were doing totally different things than we're doing now, and our philosophy has changed dramatically. But I was doing all those things. But what I will say, I think one of the biggest blessings for me is that I did have my first so long ago now, that when I see my siblings having their kids and they're looking to what to do, and they're posting questions on Facebook and social media, and I'm like, I don't get it. So I do feel like the old lady in the room sometimes around that, but the beauty of having these 4 kids over this extended period of time was that when issues did arise, I've done my research. So I found pelvic health physio because I needed it. I was having a lot of pain after my second baby was born. And I did the doctor's visits where I was told everything's okay and everything looks fine. And I did not feel fine. And a very good friend of mine and a colleague was just starting to take her pelvic health courses. And she was like, you should come and I'll treat you. I was one of her first, one of her first clients. And at the time I was like, you're going to do what? Why? And I was like, this is super weird, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And genuinely changed my life. Yeah. And I looked around and I was like, I have no problem saying the word vagina. Yeah. Talking about sex, talking about talking about intimate things with people. This changed my life, and I want to do this for other people.
Yes. That's so powerful too, when you can, obviously point out the obvious, which is, this is an intimate conversation that, not everyone's necessarily ready to have, but when you have problems, you're ready to have it, and you want to you want to have that person that you can trust to be there for you.
100%. And I think a big piece of it is creating a safe space where our clients feel comfortable having those really awkward conversations for them. But we usually, what I say is the first visit, people feel they're like, oh, I'm going to tell you this detail. Is that okay? And I'm like, trust me, there's really nothing I am not comfortable talking about. And when we do an assessment, it is there's a vaginal assessment involved, usually on the assessment, and they're really uncomfortable the first visit, and by the third visit, I walk into the room and they're already stripped down. They're like, all right, here we go. They're ready to go because they've been made.
They're getting help.
They felt safe. Yes.
Yeah. I think I can't really even overemphasize how important that safety is. And it's impressive that obviously you probably figured that out pretty quick, but that's a real personality thing, right? Have you met pelvic health physios who don't have that vibe? And I think that would be a hard one.
So I'm going to be politically correct here and say I'm just very selective with who I hire.
Okay.
Having said that, there's a person for everyone.
Yes.
Right. So, the people that we're looking to help, they require that experience. They're looking for that experience.
Right.
But there's some other, and our clinic is very not medical. You walk in and we sort of aim to make it feel like a spa because, women don't often take the time to care for themselves. There's a this big misnomer that that there's no self-care versus taking self-care. You should feel guilty if you don't take you don't participate in self-care. You feel guilty if you do self-care. So we want to make it this as safe, comfortable, and also like a beautiful experience as possible. Having said that, there are many other very medical clinics, and some people want their physio in a medical setting. And so that is, there were other amazing clinics out there for them.
Great point. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you have had your clinic and you've been doing pelvic health physio for how long now?
Just over five years now.
Wow. And is your clinic targeted to women, or do you have a large postpartum or prenatal practice?
I would say that 60% of our practice is prenatal and postpartum, like early postpartum. Probably about 20% are women who are going through menopause, in and around menopause, and the other 20% are men, young athletes, young athletic women, and women who are going through cancer treatments or right after cancer treatments.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's an array. Now, I was interested in pelvic health physio during pregnancy. Can you talk to us about the safety contraindications or what kind of benefits are involved in that?
Sure. So I'm going to get crass here for a second, but basically, if you're allowed to have sex during pregnancy, you're allowed to be you're allowed to have an internal assessment.
Okay. Great.
When we're assessing internally, vaginally, we're assessing the muscles. So we're not going close to the cervix. We don't go anywhere close to the cervix.
Right.
We, as a clinic, philosophically, I won't assess somebody during the first 3 months of pregnancy, not because there's any contraindications at all.
Okay.
I think about the mindset of a mother, and the first 3 months there is a higher likelihood of loss, and I would never want to add to somebody's list of things they wish they hadn't done.
Of course. Good.
Or a list of things they'll blame themselves for, because we're really good at blaming ourselves for things. So I just say, you know what? Our kind of protocol, if we would call it that, is if somebody's coming in for birth prep, we'll usually see them once during the second trimester. Make sure that they're strong, make sure that they know how to coordinate their muscles with the pelvic floor muscles, with their breathing muscles, make sure they have good endurance in their whole core, probably give them some homework. If they have any specific issues, we'll treat the issue during pregnancy. No worries. We can get people better during pregnancy.
Awesome.
But if they're just coming in just to make sure that we're balancing out those muscles and they know what to do, we'll see them once during second trimester. And then we really like to see them around 34 weeks and 37 weeks. And what we do is we start to teach women how to release those muscles, how to push, positions for labor and delivery, and what to expect postpartum, and how to prepare for postpartum as well.
Oh, so valuable. Wow. That is a lot. So that's a lot that you can do with them. And I think that it's so powerful to get connected with the pelvic floor and to actually feel those muscles. And what you said is understand how to, was it contract or release? Like to actually
I think a lot of times you have to know how to contract in order to know how to release.
Yes. Okay.
But what we find, again, it's really interesting, the population who we see for labor and delivery prep. It's often second-time mothers or first-time mothers who have been sent because their friend said, go and learn how to do that. Because what happens is a lot of the times, we'll go, women will be like, my body's meant to do this, and it was. But we've never really thought about these muscles. No. A lot of the clients that we see opt for epidurals, which means they don't feel their muscles. They don't know what to feel for in terms of when they're ready to push. A lot of the times they're kind of, they start pushing because somebody else has told them their body's ready, not because they feel their body is ready. And they don't know how to push properly. They end up pushing for a very long time. They end up needing extra interventions. And a lot of that can literally be prevented with a half-hour session.
Wow.
A physio. And part of that half-hour session is I give them the books to read.
Right.
Right, because you can't predict birth.
No.
But what you can do is educate yourself so that you kind of know, like, you don't know if your water's going to break first or you'll have contractions first, right?
Yes.
But you know what? In your mind, say, okay, if my water breaks first, here are my options. I like that one best. If I start having contractions, what am I going to do? Here are my options. I like that one best. If that's not an option, here's what I'm going to choose as my secondary option. So it's teaching them to be a part of the process versus having the process happen to them.
And doesn't that just go into sort of taking responsibility of our health in that way? And it makes such a difference, doesn't it?
You know what? It's so massive. I think a big piece of why we don't take our symptoms seriously is because we're just told all the time, well, what did you expect? Oh, well, what did you expect? Of course you had a baby, sex is going to hurt. Of course what did you expect? Of course your back is going to hurt after having a baby. Of course you're going to leak. Even during labor and delivery, like, well, you don't need to be a hero, have an epidural. Or some women don't want an epidural. Some women do want an epidural. But what happens is there's this constant messaging of like, our body's going to fail us. Our body's going to fail us. And we stop trusting our sense of self and our sense of what our body is doing and what's right for us. And so if we can just sort of give little pushes to our clients in the right direction so they can start to learn what they should be listening for, what they should be looking for, what is reasonable to expect, what isn't reasonable to expect, then all of a sudden we can just really validate their experience and give them back that sense of self that's really very frequently lost with motherhood.
Totally. And it's, as much as it's sort of a natural comment that it's like, oh, your mother's intuition will kick in. And it's sort of like this great elusive thing that you can kind of hope for once you have a kid. We're not actually empowered by that somehow. It's like, wait till, right? But What about cultivating that, right? Do you actually talk about this with your clients? Because I find that to be fascinating.
So much.
You do. Hey, Fit Mama, I want to interrupt this episode just for a quick reminder to check out the Love Fit Mama Way. If you haven't already checked out the book online, it's available on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. It is a very comprehensive book for you where I explain how the transition into motherhood is a window of opportunity to transform the core of your being as a human and a leader. I go into detail about what you can do physically to rehabilitate your deep inner core after pregnancy and childbirth. It doesn't matter how many years postpartum. I emphasize that being a fit mama all starts with love. And what goes into the embrace, nurture, and enjoy framework as I outline this journey for you. Because it's all about transforming from the inside out, focusing within, not without. Cultivating those healthy habits that stick, that are for you, is what this new generation of fit mamas like you really want. I lay out and I dive into the Fit Mama foundations along with all the relevant tools, new ideas, recommendations, scientific backup, and intriguing perspectives that will leave you feeling empowered, Fit Mama, and determined to connect deeper with your own core. Regardless if you're male or female, with or without kids of your own, you will find this book thought-provoking and practical in moving you toward true love and reverence towards your body and your life. I guarantee it, Fit Mama. Reach out. Please let me know how you like the book. It's only $4.69 on Kindle, and you have a Kindle app for free on your phone. If you don't, Grab a Kindle. They're awesome. You can read it right on your computer though. And the paperback is only $24.95. I honestly know that it's worth it. It is over 10 years of research and pretty much 20 years of experience, plus my whole life. But it is a wealth of knowledge. And I know this makes a really, really great gift for any of those pregnant or new fit mamas out there. I guarantee you're going to feel a breath of fresh air from reading this book, and sharing it with your friends and family is giving love right to them. I talk all about healing your seal and doing the pearl pull-ups to bring yourself back into a place of equilibrium in your core, a nice connecting with your deep inner core, how to rehab, what it all means, and it's super, super clear and simple. So check out the book, get it on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. And back to the episode. Have a great day, Fit Mama.
Well, I mean, a big piece is like, let's go back to this concept of like, it takes a village, right? Mother's tuition grew because, our mothers, our aunts, our sisters, they were all living in and around us, showing us what to do.
So true.
Right? And so I don't know that we have mother's intuition. I think we can learn. And so, but I think that concept is really empowering because, when postpartum women like, I don't know what to do. Well, of course you don't know what to do. You've never done this before. Let's teach you.
Yes. And I think keeping that open mind is, not to be ignored. I think we do almost, like you said, we look to social media or we look to these books and, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. I have no control over it. Let's just go to it. Versus, having an open mind and going, what could it be like? What could it be like for me if I didn't have that or this? Or even if, I was open to anything being possible, what could be possible?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that all comes back to the fact that we don't talk a lot about like mindset. And I think that mindset is everything. And so if we can provide an education to our clients and our patients and our mothers and our friends and our sisters and teach them that there is another way to live, there is another way to look at it. I don't have to feel like a failure every time my baby's crying. I don't, that's not telling me just that one, that one thing that, well, my baby cries, I'm a failure as a mother. Well, maybe baby cry or maybe, So offering the educational pieces around that, we see, we treat locked breast ducts a lot as well. We have a bunch of lactation consultants who we work with. And we have very new, fresh mothers come in and they're devastated because this quote unquote natural thing, breastfeeding is such a challenge. Because guess what? It really is hard. Yeah. It really is hard. Yeah. And we don't tell women that. And they come in and they're broken because they've just gone through this really challenging delivery, because delivery is challenging, beautiful and magical and wonderful, but it's hard for the body. Yeah. And then they're trying to breastfeed. And really all they need, yes, we treat their breasts, we them with the blocked duct, but really we just spend time telling them that they know what they're doing. We show them a couple of things, and just make space for them to feel okay.
Do you find, you see these women and maybe your lactation consultants more, but I'm sure you see them come in, like how much of that do you find is stress induced, or like these women are literally in a fight and flight mode of like survival, would you say?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And they're not sleeping.
Yes, that is such a huge contributor.
And they're right. So they're in fight and flight because like the first 3 days postpartum is like, we're like on this like huge endorphin rush. Yeah. And then we're left alone to fend for this child, and we don't know how to raise, like we don't know what to do with the baby. No. We don't know how to breastfeed. We're not, there's a class often, if it's a hospital birth, there's a class. Often if somebody has midwives, the midwives will come to their home and just review a couple of things. But at the end of the day, that's, it's 23 and a half hours without support with these women who are just, they're just treading water.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
And would it be, would you say, a lack of knowledge in pregnancy? Like, are there not enough books about this still? Like, what is missing? Because how are we not communicating this better with each other? You know, like, what's the missing link?
I think there's fear that you don't want to scare mothers ahead of time. Like, how could you really communicate the experience of motherhood? I talk about a lot, like really, really frequently with my clients, like motherhood is an existential crisis. Yes. I really think that prenatal, no matter what you read, no matter what you hear, you picture yourself as the person you were prenatally with a child.
Yeah, and that person does not exist no more.
Right,
yeah.
But that person does not exist anymore. Yeah. You are actually a different person. So you're different, you now have to acclimate to this new human that you are. You have to figure out who that person is in relationship to the baby,
totally,
in relationship with your significant other, with your other family members, who you are, like, what is your role in society now? Like, it's an identity crisis.
It totally is. I could not agree more. Literally, I could not agree more. And I've actually never really thought of it in that kind of way. Like, even in the Love Fit Mama way, I talk about, this opportunity for you to be born as a leader, as as someone who you just never even expected yourself to be. And you step up to this plate because you look at these, the little ones and you go, I got a big job here to do, right? And even without the stress and pressure that brings, that allows you to step into this new place. But it can also cause probably more stress that, people don't even almost wake up from for a good 20 years, would you say?
Yeah. And again, like, I think I'm really lucky that I went through this it's very different the first time that you become with your first child versus the second. There's different experiences with every successive child. I just kept going till 4, but let's try that again. I think that I feel very grateful that I went through that 11 years ago when I wasn't comparing myself to all the perfect mothers on social media. It really adds a really interesting element where when people are only showing like the glorified parts of their lives, they're not showing the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. And I really think, as much as we all know that social media is fake, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
There's that piece of our mind that's like, oh, I'm supposed to be loving every second of this. I'm supposed to look put together. I'm supposed to be doing all, that list of I'm supposed to is really, really long.
Yes.
And there's a steep learning curve.
And sometimes just looking at those images, even however they are far from reality, it's almost like the further from your own reality that is, the more it makes you feel like, I'm never going to get there, right? Like, I know I've looked at some mom bloggers with their photos are amazing. And I'm honestly like just impressed beyond. And I love, like, I follow some that I'm just like, oh, wow, the pictures that you can get your kids to pose for, right? Like, I'm going, I don't know what you did to this child. My kid not once in this, my oldest is 8. And it's like, she not one time posed for a picture that looked like this magical thing.
I will tell you, we tried to do family pictures.
Oh
my husband was like, this is a big mistake. And I was like, no, it's going to be beautiful. My mother turned 60. We're going to give her a picture. It's going to be amazing. I have 4 children. We did it in a park. Okay.
Gosh.
My baby went down the slide, face planted in the sand. So she had boogers and tears covered with sand. My 9-year-old got a bee sting. My 5-year-old son got a black eye. For family photos. So I do not know how.
It's just not reality, right? And I mean, I think everyone has their thing. And that's the hard part about social media, is that everyone's out there with all their talents and they're shining them. So of course we see those. And I think to some level, it really does come back to us in that place, in our pelvis, where we're just not going to open up our mouth because we don't think we're good enough. We don't think we're far enough along yet. We don't think this pain is bad enough, or so-and-so is going to listen to us.
Yeah. And one of the really interesting things is our pelvic floor muscles. They actually are directly innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. So that fight or flight. So when we are stressed, which is, again, most new
of the
moms,
time, most of the time.
we go into this protective response, which involves this clenching of the muscles, this like overactive mechanism of the pelvic floor muscles, and then you go to your 6-week checkup, and you're told, all right, it's your Kegels. Well, you've been in one massive Kegel since delivery,
squeezed
right?
and held.
And so we're sending women in the complete opposite direction of where they need to be. Yes. We need to be teaching them, coping mechanisms, sympathetic down regulation exercises, like breathing, meditation. Guess what? Like hugs and positive social interactions, calming techniques, as opposed to just like going out to boot camp and working out hard to feel,
break down the body some more, or go to the play date and then again more comparison. Oh, your kid already stands and my kid doesn't even do X yet. Oh, wow.
100%.
It's intense, right?
Yeah. Like and so, bringing it back to the question you had originally, like why is there not enough books? I just think it's really isolating, and we just need people. We need like that warm embrace. We need people to make us feel cared for and supported and loved and like unconditionally loved. And
which is the opposite of the judgment that I think we put upon ourselves even more than before we look at social media,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so moms just need a little love.
I'm telling ya, you take the words out of my mouth, Chana. This is amazing. What would you say if you could to new moms? You see new moms, they go to their 6-week checkup with their doctor or midwife or whomever. I know for a fact that a large majority of them are not even getting an internal exam at this point. And, that, which I'm also shocked by, right? This is crazy, but the statistics are in. And a lot of people are then told to go off and go do what you did before. You were a marathon runner, get 2. It doesn't matter what, go. And then what do? They go, I want to burn the most amount of calories in the least amount of time. My doctor told me I can go back and do anything I want. I'm going to boom off to CrossFit, or I'm going to go to the hardest boot camp, happening in the local park. Whoa, this gives me like a scared thing, and I know you see these people and or don't see these people, so talk to them. I was one of them, so I'm holding myself up here. Me too. Yeah.
Like I am here because I've done all the things.
Yeah.
Again, what we know is, first of all, what I'll say is my recovery from my 4th pregnancy was my fastest, and that's because I actually waited 12 weeks. There's a 4th trimester. That 6-week mark is completely arbitrary. There is no evidence to support it. There is nothing that we can find that says at 6 weeks your body is quote unquote back to where it was.
Yeah, what the? Oh my gosh.
It's totally arbitrary. We know that like basic healing times, and we're talking about, if you've had a cesarean section, if you've had any tearing vaginally, even for our bodies, like after any infection whatsoever, it takes about our natural healing time is between 8 to 12 weeks.
Yes.
So those first 3 months, our body is just healing.
Oh,
right?
And you know what? This brings up to mind, and I don't want to interrupt you because I want you to keep going, but people are going back to work at 6 and 8 weeks.
I know. Right?
Right?
And so, and our, that 4th trimester for our infants as well is really important. It's really important for, the skin contact and like babies, the theory goes that we deliver babies at 10 months because they wouldn't be able to fit through our pelvises otherwise, but they really needed a little extra time to cook. And so they need that time with their moms, right?
Yeah.
Or their parents.
Yeah.
And so at that 12-week mark, that's really when your body needs to start rehabilitating, right? What we go through during the 10 months of pregnancy. It's really 10 months, right?
Yeah, I agree. 40 weeks, when you break it down, it's got to be 10 months. Yeah.
Number one, you grew an entire human inside of you.
Yeah.
Number two is you push it out into the world somehow.
Yeah.
It either came through your abdominal wall or came through your vagina.
Yeah.
Your organs were shifted completely up and out of the way in order to accommodate your growing uterus, which means that your diaphragm, your breathing muscle, has not been used properly for 10 months. It means your abdominals had to shift out of the way. They need to learn, your proprioception, your sense of where your body is in space is completely different. You actually have to relearn where those muscles are, how to connect with them, right?
So true.
Our pelvic floor was holding up this baby for 9-10 months. So relearning how to contract and relax and have that inner core, that diaphragm, pelvic floor, inner abs, inner back muscles, they used to work in synchrony, right? There are anticipatory core. So a really great physio in the States, her name is Julie Weeb, she talks a lot about how your inner core turns on before you even start movement. But we lose that postpartum and during pregnancy because those muscles are shifted out of position. So we have to retrain that inner core unit to turn on prior to other movements. We need to rehabilitate before we start to strengthen.
And is it because of this lack of rehabilitation that you would say does lead to a lot of the core dysfunction you see in the clinic?
I think so. I have my own theories around it as well. I do think that our birthing practices, I think that from the second that a woman is pregnant, she really is inundated with messaging about how her body's going to fail and sets us up to stop believing in our abilities as women. I think, things like failure to progress, there's a lot, the C-section rate is really sky high because we set these expectations for women's bodies and how they're supposed to labor that are, again, completely arbitrary. There used to be this you have to dilate a centimeter an hour, which was based on nothing, and the World Health Organization just came out and said, stop telling women they're not progressing if they're not following that 1 centimeter an hour progression plan. But we're just, I really do think a big piece of it is this is what your body was meant to do. You're built to house and grow a baby, and you're built to deliver the baby. But then we used to take the time to recover, and now we're just forcing women back to everything really too soon. We're not giving our bodies enough time to recover before we start straining it again. It's like the equivalent of going out for a run on a sprained ankle, right?
Totally.
It's not just spraining the ankle. You sprain your ankle, you can rehabilitate from it. But if you go back too hard too soon, and a lot of what we're expecting ourselves to do, take care of the house, take care of the baby, exercise, also, look amazing and be put together. It's actually too much too soon.
Yes. Oh, it so is. And, we've all been there. We've all wanted to put on a good face and do the things. And I think it's just, we get to a level of maturity when we realize, at our own expense, what are we doing? Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's so valuable to have these conversations because, you and I have been there, and there's so many women that don't have to go to that place where they put themselves out or they put their body out on behalf of some type of superficial need to impress someone other than, themselves or even themselves and prove to themselves, right?
It's we create this. It's an impossible standard to achieve.
Yes.
I get asked a lot, okay, how do you have a clinic and have 4 kids? And honestly, my kids do not go in matching outfits to school every day. And I'm pretty happy if they're wearing weather appropriate clothes. We have this ridiculous standard for ourselves. And I think a big piece of it is is not being, having a baby, you just lose this huge piece of control of your life, control of your time, control of where you're going, when you're going.
It shatters the type A personality.
And we live in a society where like we're almost forced to be type A, right? And so it's hard to balance those two pieces.
It is. And I think where we can really do ourselves a favor is, that piece of slowing down, right? Going back to those basics of things that calm our nervous system, like you mentioned. I mean, I never valued rest and, taking a break. I was like, if I'm not out there pushing it, like I'm being lazy. And I used to tell myself all these nonsense things. And, it's amazing how I've now been teaching this and doing this for well over 5 years. And I still need those personal reminders. Like
100%.
It's
like, I'm in the club. I'm definitely part of the club, right?
You got the
like there's why do I feel so frazzled? Well, I haven't meditated in 4 days. And I totally packed my schedule and I'm over promising. And then you have to rein it in and talk yourself out of it, right?
We do. And I think it's so important to have people like yourself and other role models out there who are, while they're doing all the things and they're, inspiring and moving ahead and doing things that are, helping more people, that we also have these conversations about how we're restoring ourselves.
Yes.
And, I think that, I always am having this conversation now with high level people that are, from what I can see, and you and I have never personally met, even though I'm like fangirl, right? But it's like, from the outside, it's like, okay, she's going for it. She's pushing it. She's got all this stuff. And yet I know the type of person you are. You're also taking care of yourself and doing things for you. So what kind of things do you do for you in addition to meditation, which I love hearing?
What do I do? I ask for help, not as much as I need to, but I
has that been a big improvement since your first kid to now, would you say?
Oh my goodness. Massive. What I meditate. I try to meditate daily. I think I probably should be doing it twice a day. But I try for once a day. When I first opened my clinic, my exercise routine, it just went into the toilet. I try to exercise 4 times a week, and at least 1 or 2 of those times is something that's slow and gentle and stretching and moving.
Good one.
I have tried to simplify my choice making. So
I
we
like
have this
that.
same
Decision
thing for
fatigue.
dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, like Monday night is the same thing. Tuesday night is the same thing every week.
Brilliant.
I grocery shopping online is one, has been game changer for me because I just have the same grocery list every single week. I try to keep things as simple as possible because life is not simple.
No.
So I try to, like, my family makes fun of me. I find one t-shirt and I order it in like 16 different sizes, different colors, because like I find the one and then I go for it.
Awesome.
Just because it's easier for me.
It totally is. And studies have shown that, honestly, if we have to make 10 decisions before lunchtime, we're just zonked and we're not going to take care of ourselves by the end of the day because we don't got nothing left, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's so true.
And I'm certainly not perfect. I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
Oh, you go, girl. Welcome to the club. Yeah.
I know, right? We should start a club.
Totally.
But there are days when I'm like, whoa, I feel terrible. What's going on? But I'm at a point where I can recognize when I feel that way.
That's self-awareness. And that's something that, we can all just, I would say, I don't like to use hope as a strategy, but that's definitely something we can all hope for, is having that self-awareness where we can stop enough to go, oh, something's off. What's happening here, right? And not before it's too late, or, quote unquote, it's too late, which it never is, in my opinion. But it's time for awareness. And I love what you do so much because you bring awareness to obviously the pelvis and pelvic health and the muscles of the deep inner core, which, we know are so intertwined, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, are almost inextricably intertwined with our quality of life.
Oh, 100% agreed.
Yeah, like if you're having pelvic health issues, like life's shit. Like that's just, and literally maybe, but like
Sometimes actually.
yeah. But like, yeah, if you're not having sex because you're having pain, that is a huge relationship strain for sure.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a strain on yourself too, because you're not, getting what you need and feeling good. Like that is something really to be cognizant of. So I think women, sometimes they blame their hormones on things like, oh, I'm not having a libido right now, which I can totally understand. There's times, of course, but
oh yeah, it's a piece of the puzzle for sure.
yeah,
but it's not
definitely. No, but I know that you can actually, or we in general as humans, especially women, because we can do so many things and conquer so great, we can downplay our pain and be like, oh, it's nothing, right? Like you said, women grinning and bearing it when they're in pain, that's just unacceptable to me.
Yeah, I quite honestly, their partners are probably devastated when they find out.
Totally, right? Absolutely. And you're not doing anyone any favors. So I really encourage people to go see someone like Chana. And I mean, we'll link up all the info to get to your clinic in Toronto, which, we would all love to come to. But if we're not so close, I know that we can get other info to find a pelvic health physio in our area. I've just moved to where I am in Palm Desert. I've been scoping them out, and I kind of like, maybe I have to ask you kind of off air, like, how do I approach these people? Because I kind of like creep into their office and like, they assume I have a pelvic issue. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm fit mama. Like, it's not really a good drop. So I'm going to ask you a more tactful way. But anyway, that's another conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. Namaste, Fit Mamas. Wow, right? I mean, Chana, thank you. She is so awesome. I loved having her here. I love talking about all that stuff. I mean, we can talk for hours and days, literally. I mean, she's got 4 kids. She's been through so many great experiences. She's seen clients who have probably had everything under the sun. She is just so knowledgeable. And, while she's in Toronto and you may not be there, you can go visit her, you can go check her out, you can go sign up into her clinic and make a trip there, or you can find someone in your area, because regardless of whether you are in Toronto or that area, you needing to go see a pelvic floor physiotherapist as part of your prenatal postpartum care is sort of just a reality that no one really tells you. And it's just like if we are athletes and we're running marathons, or we're running or doing or sprinting or jumping or whatever, we do regular body work, right? We take care of ourselves. We do physiotherapy on our knee or our arm or elbow, or if we're a tennis player, whatever it is, we take care of our bodies. And we don't seem to have that same realization, if it were, around the babying, around the birth, around the pregnancy, around training to give birth, which is absolutely a physical thing, depending how you go at it. So it really is going to take a lot out of you. And if we can start to see it in this way and really take action to strengthen and realize that we are actually able to be stronger in our deep core, stronger in our body, stronger in our hearts, our minds, everything than we ever were before we had kids. And this is because we get an opportunity to reinforce our core and to reconnect and connect deeper to our core. And it's pretty exciting, all the work Chana's doing. And I'm so excited that she's getting this out there. And she runs such a big clinic with so many physios. I mean, there are people to see. And I am so grateful that our people are doing this work and that people are helping so many people. And it's just such a gift to really have people like this that I'm able to share with you. So thank you for being here, Fit Mama. Thank you for always being here. Please share this episode with someone who you know who will benefit. Please share this with someone who is pregnant or has had a baby anytime in their life. I guarantee you, I've worked with clients in their 60s and 70s, and they are still talking about incontinence, prolapse, pain, pelvic issues, sex pain, other things. This happens for life, Fit Mamas. So please share this with people in your life. Everyone will benefit. And I am so grateful that you were here today with us. Thank you. Thank you again, Chana. All the love. Namaste, Fit Mama.